Working on this 2004 Expedition. 5.4 liter Triton V8. Our customer called because it is having a misfire situation. This vehicle has over 100,000 miles on it, and the last plug change is unknown. So we're gonna take these couple of bolts off right here, just get all these covers off, and I'm gonna start working on the back two plugs on each side to see how much work it's gonna take to get them loose and free. I sent the customer in to go get new plugs with one of the old ones and the coil boot. So I have the 4 back plugs out of this engine. Started with these back plugs because traditionally the back plugs on this are the ones that always get seized in place, and you end up having to do major engine work if you can't get these things out of here. You can see they're all pretty much wearing the same. This is probably the worst one right here. The other two just have pretty standard wear on them. So this one isn't necessarily getting everything burned correctly. So here is a 5.4 liter Ford engine with the cover off. We're going to be working on these coils today. So I got to get these 4 coils, you can see going all the way back there, out of there, so I can get down to the spark plugs. The cover is actually held on this thing by 2 11mm bolts. It's kind of annoying. They're trying to discourage regular people from working on it by putting bolts on there that might not have tools to take off. Like 7mm bolts. Again, they really don't want you working on this. Ford does. So let's find out what size they are and get that out of there. Glove off. I got a couple of these coils out. Here's what they look like. You can see right, it goes down to the plug. This looks like it's got over 100,000 miles on it for sure. You can see it's just the dirt and years that have been added to this. This sits down into that hole right here. It gets bolted in there like that. You got a spark plug down there we gotta get out. I like to use a couple of smaller extensions because we gotta get all the way back there. You can't even see it. Got a light here. But there's 4 of those coils on this side, and the ones that are always the problem are the ones that are in the back there that you can't even see. So I'm gonna work, I already got the coil out of there. You can see I got 2 coils up there. And so the next step I'm gonna do is to see how stuck that plug is back there, to see how much of a problem it's gonna be. First step is getting really comfortable. You can see, but I have this ratchet in here actually on it, and it seems like it's turning. This is the hardest one to get to, and I recommend you start it first. Patience is very necessary for this. You can see I didn't want to have to take all of this apart, so I got some hoses kind of zip tied up out of the way here, so I can get a little bit of a swing back here to turn. You can kind of see where that hole is back there. That's what we're working on. While I was in here, I just noticed this wire damage going down into the loom, and this right here is the coil connector for the number 1 plug. They have some damage that could definitely potentially be causing the vehicle misfire. You can see there's also damage here. So getting this harness apart and figuring out what it's going to take to fix that is going to be pretty expensive. So working on this Expedition, got the plugs all loose, and I realized that my magnet is missing out of my toolkit. So that means that I got to break away, go to a parts store real quick and get a magnet to keep working on this car. A little frustrating. We're back from the auto parts store. Got myself a brand new magnet. I'm gonna take these plugs out of there and see how bad they are. Got the first plug out of here. You see it's a Motorcraft plug. It's platinum. It's likely original equipment. It's definitely seen the best of its service life. I'm gonna go ahead and recommend we replace these with new plugs. So we got the first one out, and that was the one that was all the way back there. We got 3 more on this side to do. And then I have the 4 that's on this side. This side's a little bit easier to get back in here. a little bit. I still have the EGR valve that I gotta fight, and then I also have this reservoir right here that's over the front too. So we got some work. Let's get busy. So working on the driver's side, the opposite side now. I got the back coil out. I was working on the second coil. I don't know if you can see here. You see that moving right there? That right there is the boot for this coil. And that will happen sometimes. This is the first one that has done that too. So basically, it got stuck down there, and we're gonna take a pair of needle nose and we're gonna yank that back out. Very carefully, by the way. Just take your time, have a lot of patience. I got my needle nose here. I was able very gingerly work that in and get it out. So now I can get at the plugs. Yeah, so we got all those out. While the customer's out buying parts, I'm gonna work on getting the 2 plugs that I didn't pull out of this side out so that we can go ahead and do the hardest side and then move on over there. Get that power steering pump reservoir pulled and finish those ones. I pulled this injector off. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to patch these up because of where they go in right here. I think that me trying to like pull some of this back might actually do more damage to the harness. So what I'm probably gonna do is just tape these up as best as I can. I already let the customer know what was going on and let him know that he might actually need to be replacing part of the wiring harness on here if he continues to have problems going forward. But for now, we're gonna go ahead and take out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8mm bolts so that I can swing this guy up and out of the way so that I have access to that front coil right there. And there's another coil back over there that I want to get to. That just moving all this out of the way will make it much easier to do that. Don't forget about this bolt right here. I got this all taken apart, so I got these bolts all undone. I got the bolt that's right there undone. Basically, I just want this loose. It doesn't have to really go anywhere. The part that you want to move is this one. Just pull that out of there, and you can see how it gives you access to those 2 coils. I got the electrical connections off of them. So basically, I just get this one out of there and this one out of there. Oh, you can see that pointing to it. That one out of there. Get those plugs out, and I can start putting new stuff in. Just got from O'Reilly Auto Parts 8 new coil boots and some Autolite platinum plugs to replace what we pulled out of there, which was a Motorcraft. Okay, let's pull those last 2 plugs out of their holes. There's one. And there's 2. A dirty bottle of anti-seize is a mechanic's best friend. We're gonna go over some things that I think you should really have if you're gonna tackle this job. Basically, they put these 5.4s in these trucks going all the way back to 1998, I believe. So if you ever have to change the plugs on these, when you're putting the new ones in, please God, put a little bit of this on the threads, because this will make it so much nicer for the next guy that has to go in there, and you'd be possibly saving the owner or yourself thousands of dollars in repairs by not having to strip out the threads that are in the engine and cause you to have to pull everything apart. Another specialty tool that I think you're going to really want to use when you do this job is a magnet. I have 2 that I went out and bought just now because mine was missing, but I have this one, this little pencil magnet. There's a lot of tools that are back in some weird crevices that you can't really see, so if you drop anything, that's nice to have. And then just grabbing these plugs and pulling them out of their holes is so much nicer than trying to use a magnetic socket holder or a magnetic plug holder on a socket, because those things never really work. Last thing that I think I'd recommend is a socket with a flexible head. There's a lot of weird angles that you got to get into in here, and you can't really use a stubby socket because you need the torque to be able to actually move these. So by being able to move this head, I can kind of like adjust it in there so that I can get this in tight to reach places and put the amount of leverage on there that I need to do. Okay, so we're just going to take these new plugs. Just come in packs of 4. We have 8 of them. So we're going to open this. Tend not to try and gap platinum plugs. They're pre-gapped from the factory. As long as you don't see any damage on here, I usually call that pretty good. So this plug is ready to go. So what I'll do I'll just open my little anti-seize jar here. You don't need a whole lot of this stuff. A little bit goes a long way. Put a little bit on the threads here. And see, I don't have a whole lot. Just kind of enough on these threads that when it goes around, it's not gonna get seized up in there. So we're just gonna go ahead and do this to all four on this side. I'm gonna tighten them in and get the coils in. Boo. Boo. The further you go back, the harder it is hard to see. Whoop. Go back a couple. They're very hard to see. So I always start with the hardest thing first. It just makes the easier things so much more enjoyable, guys. If you can get the stuff that's going to be the hardest out of the way, then you can just enjoy the rest of your day. Here we go. They're all in now. I just got to tighten them in. Put the coils back on. Yeehaw. We're officially half done. I got this side all put back together. You can see a couple of the coils going all the way back. You can't quite see the fourth one. It's pretty far back there. So we got all this repaired. I wasn't able to get down into the harness, but what I did do is just kind of tape this up to help try and keep some moisture and the elements out of this harness. And I did advise the customer that potentially this could be a problem going forward. So he's aware of that. Because when you're in here, you just kind of make sure that you reconnect all your connections that you might have disconnected while you're in here. You can see there's a mountain of vacuum hoses and stuff in here that can all be kind of tugged loose. I popped this out of here, which is just the breather. So I had to pop that back in, and then this right here is a vacuum line that goes right in there. So we're officially done with this side. I can now move over and start throwing this side back together. Whoop. There is a fuel pressure regulator right here to prevent you from getting the socket all the way down on it. You can see it right there. I just used a universal 1/4 inch joint. And that is tightening it up just fine. There we go, that coil is in. 7mm on a universal joint for that second one from the rear on the driver's side. Okay, we're all done with the spark plugs, the coil boots. Our steering reservoir all back in. So now all that's left is to put the cover on and see if it starts. Another satisfied customer. It took me about 4.5 hours. Sometimes I'm quicker at these than I am. Whatever, I haven't done one in a while, so there's some stuff that fought me, like the boot that it took me a second to get out. The driver's side, which is supposed to be the easier side, the back couple coils, I had a hard time getting the bolts started and threaded, so that took me an extra couple minutes. But all in all, not bad. I can go home and feel like a winner.